Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Sulaiman Rahim here. Welcome. Critical analytics. Brothers and sisters, this is critical analytics. July 5th, 2001. Critical analytics. Here we discuss current events, primarily from every perspective: religion, mathematics, social, logical, from every perspective, but from a critically analytical, not conjecture, beliefs, opinions. No, we deal with facts. So today we're going to discuss who will inherit the earth. Because the events we see today, we need to put in perspective so you understand them. All these things is happening now. Critical race theory, defund the police. Um, we have to restructure America. We should we take and respect the flag? Should black people respect the flag? It's a big conflict going on. LGBT community, so-called gay rights, so-called Israel, conflicts over there. What's all this stuff about? Is there some consistency in all this? Is all this connected somehow? That's what we want to know. Is all this connected somehow? Because all these events, no one's connecting events together. So they talk about this event over there, like it's isolated from all the other events. But we know everything there's a synergism. Everything works together in this reality. It's like the weather and everything. Everything works together. But somehow these different events they're not related. They're isolated. So we're going to examine that and see if it's true. Is there some commonality behind these events? And then we can understand them. That's what we're going to do. Because there is, and we're going to go into it in quite some detail. But in order to have will, you have to have a vision. Then you have to have the energy, right, to bring that vision into existence. You don't have to have the will, can't precede the vision, because you got will to do what? You got energy to do what? See? You have to have the vision first. So in order to see the commonality, there must be a vision that's driving it. Because there's a vision of the world that we have right now, and this vision is driven by America. America is imposing its vision upon the world. Now, why is that? They're imposing their vision upon the world. Democracy, capitalism, Christianity, right? LGBT, right? See? Their justice, so-called justice system, all of this, they're imposing upon the world. So there's a vision, and the whole world is being influenced or controlled by that vision. It says they would deceive the whole world. What does that mean? That means they gave them a false vision. Said it would deceive the whole world. How you get deceived? You get a false vision. That means the whole world is operating under a false vision. It tells you that. But they're lying because they say, well, that's something will happen in the future. They tell you chapter 20 is something happening in the future, so-called millennia. Yet if we examine chapter 20 critically, we realize, no, it's happening in the past. That's part of a deception. So who will inherit the earth? The vision war. It's all about vision, brother and sister. It says a nation that doesn't have vision will perish. It's all about vision. So we're gonna go in a little somewhat detail here and try to understand this, unpack it. Say critical analytics. Normally our goal is to do this somewhat online and bring people in and discuss it. But not today, because I want to bring this home. I want everyone to understand it. And anyone who wants has to challenge it, they're welcome to do it if they can. If it's possible. They can challenge it. We take on all challenges. It's logical, rational, factual based. Okay. We don't waste time with belief. Those people lost in the belief matrix. They tell, well, we believe this, my opinion. We're not interested in your opinion. We're not interested in your belief. We're interested in your facts, knowledge. See? Yet in saying that, 35,000 years ago, we went off the mathematical standard. That's the beginning of religion. Master Muhammad taught us that. And that's what they want to attack you with, because if you fight with religion, it's like two people fighting with bananas. It's worthless. I mean, neither one's going to get anywhere. Okay, so critical analytics. So let's start talking about this. I'm going to lay some groundwork here. Let's get some historical perspective here. 2,000 years ago, Prophet Jesus, he raised up Adam, the Adam of the old so-called Testament, and the Adam of the Quran. We're told in both cases that they're the ones that brought sin in the world. They talk about it differently, but bottom line is both of them brought sin in the world, because the one that Quran says, I'm going to make someone who make mission shed blood, right? So, I mean, so there's a new ruler, so that means that wasn't going on before them. And the new so-called Old Testament, right, where Adam was the first man, right? Well, they think the same thing in the Sunnis. And then, right, he sinned and he brought sin to the world. Anyway, but we're told in the Quran that he was giving guidance. See? So if his purpose was to make men shed blood, then what's the nature of his guidance? See? His guidance was coming from, he was given a scripture, but that was a sealed Bible. Because sealed Bible backs up all these things that you see going on today. The sealed Bible, because we told the Bible would not be unsealed. You're told that in Daniel and in Revelation, the Bible would not be unsealed to the end. So that means there was something hidden from people that allowed this Adam to do his thing. It was something that was hidden. Because why you seal it? You seal it because you don't want it open, public. No, you want to hide it. So it'd be hidden. And be hidden for at least 2,000 years. So Prophet Jesus gave them the sealed Bible, because unless you broke the seals, it's still sealed from your point of view. And then we're told in the Old Testament, that Adam was put to sleep for 1,000 years. He's put to sleep, a deep sleep. That was 1,000 years, so-called dark ages. See? So for 1,000 years he was asleep. In chapter 20 it says they were thrown into the pit for 1,000 years. See? And a chain was around them, but there was a people that was ruling during this period of time. Well, that's Prophet Muhammad. See, because they came 500 years later. They threw them in a pit for 1,000 years, locked them up in Europe for 1,000 years. This is what they're hiding from you. See, they after 500 years after Prophet Jesus left, right? Because during that period of time, that's when the British Isles became populated from refugees and immigrants and what they call it, exiles and criminals and everything escaping from Europe, escaped from the church, because Britain is not in Europe, it's the Isles, the island country. They populate. So 500 years later, right, they were thrown into the Dark Ages when the rise of Islam. That went on for 1,000 years. It said during that, while I was asleep, Eve would come out. That's America. Came out of the side. Came out of Britain. That's where Eve came from. America is Eve. Came out. And for that five, and they came out. And so at the end of the Dark Ages, right? That's when Britain spread out. Island countries spread out, right? They discovered that was the whole world. That's Gog and Magog. America was established. And then the cord between it was cut, like it says in the Old Testament. They had a revolution, and then, because it was a colony, eventually they became independent. So then you had Adam and Eve, Gog and Magog. And then for 500 years, right, they would bring in the tree of life, the tree of God, knowledge, good and evil, whatever. They bring them in, and that's what happened. They brought the Africans in. Okay. That's the story, bottom line. Okay. Now, remember they're operating off the sealed Bible. What was that vision? The vision was, right, because of Prophet Jesus, the people that was imposed to inherit the earth was supposed to be so-called Israel, the Jews, right? He took the kingdom from them. They were supposed to be the inheritors. He took the kingdom from them and gave it to the spiritual Israel, because the so-called Jews claim to be inheritors. They claim to be Abraham's seed, because Abraham's seed is the one that's going to inherit the earth, the entire earth. Abraham's seed would inhabit the entire world. If you understand Daniel, that's a stone that's going to spread out and cover, loose stone that's going to inhabit the whole earth. So Abraham's seed would be the one, right, through Jacob, through Isaac and Jacob, will inherit the entire world. But they would have to go through 400 years of sacrifice. They'd be sacrificed for 400 years. A terrible sacrifice, a great sacrifice, in furnace of affliction for 400 years. And then at the end of that, right, they would inherit their land, get their land back, and then they would come and take over, rule the entire world. But until then, Gog and Magog would be ruling. So that 500-year period, Gog and Magog would be ruling. But then after that, after that 500 years is over, right, then children, the true seed of Abraham would take over. But see, before that, the people that we call the Jews operating on that, they said that was them. See, because it's a battle, right, for who is the true seed of Abraham, who's the inheritors of the earth, who is the true inheritors. Because somebody's going to inherit the entire earth. The scripture tells you that. So they said Jesus broke the covenant with them and gave it to Adam. That's the idea. You got to understand these scriptures. He gave it to Adam. So then he would. That's their claim. So now they had claim. See? So they began persecuting, because now there was a rivalry between who was the true seed of Abraham. Well, the Jews, are they the true seed of Abraham, or the Christians or the Europeans, right? Were they the truth? Because they got it because they was Christians. They followed Jesus. So now the covenant was given to them. So now they had a rivalry for it. So the Christians began annihilating the Jews because they had a conflict for that, right? A rivalry, right? Competition for that claim. Because both was making the same claim to the same property, the earth. And so you had that conflict with them, and that conflict reached a boiling point in the 30s when they decided to annihilate the Jews altogether, just annihilate them. And all Europeans was on board with that. Believe me, they're not telling you the truth about it. To annihilate that claim altogether, just get rid of it. So that means there will be no competition for that claim because, again, God and Magog was land making that claim. That's why they spread out and took everything from everybody because they said the earth is theirs. They're the natural inheritors. They took Australia, took continents. They didn't take countries, they took continents. Took Australia. They took all the Americas, South and North America, Canada, see, the islands. They took it all because they said we're the spiritual seed of Abraham. Jesus gave it to us, right? He took it away from them. So we didn't inherit the earth, and so they took it all. And so therefore, from their point of view, right, they're God's chosen people, because both of these are based on racism. Now think about that. Both concepts are based on racism. There was no racism before Yaku's people came along because there wasn't any race. There was only one humanity, original people. But then they came along and they was say they was pseudo humanity. I put it like that. They was like compromised. So then you had a race now for who's going to inherit the earth. That's why I call it race. Because once Dr. Yakub brought his creation into existence, his race, who's going to inherit the earth? That's why I call it race. Now you got these two, you only got two races, or two racers. That's what that's all about. So before that, over in the European sphere, right, those people that call themselves Jews, they was exercising that idea. They was the chosen people. Right? That's racism. They was the chosen people. They had rights to everything. But when Jesus came, right, and the Europeans start rising up, right, they took and said, okay, we're the chosen people. See, because if it take from you, that's racism. That means it all belongs to them. See, that's both a racist ideologies. So they said it belongs to them. The world belongs to the earth, belongs to them. So, as I said, 500 years ago, when they broke away out of the grip of the abyss, 1,000 years into the abyss, Dark Ages, medieval, right, broke the restraints that the Islamic Empire had them under. They went out with that vision that they're the superior chosen people. White superiority, because they was white superiority. And that means everything they went, it was theirs. It belonged to them. So they have felt no guilt for taking Australia from Australians, from taking South America, taking North America, so to speak, right? Taking Canada, taking all out there, because it belonged to them. That's the way we operate on. That's the vision from the sealed Bible that Jesus gave them. Remember, this book is sealed, so the truth of it is not known. It said truth will not be revealed to the end. The truth is not known. Or they go by what they think it says. But that was given, that was their guidance. So in there you find slavery and all those type of things, right? But the other thing is you find that all the races, right, they was nothing. They was to be trampled down. But in the case of Africa, right, in the sealed Bible, we are the sons of Shem, right? Through Ham. Ham was Shem's son. Shem was cursed by Noah, right? Because he supposedly looked upon his nakedness. I'm not going to all these, what that's supposed to mean. So they was cursed black and doomed to be slaves forever. That was Africa. That's part we played. So I'm constructing this vision. What motivates them? Because you have to have a vision, and from that vision, and then the energy, the will to bring that vision in. But what's the motivation? That vision. So that's the vision ahead. So therefore, taking people's land that's okay, vision, because that's what their mission was. That was their commission, because they're sealed Bible, because now they're the spiritual seed of Abraham. That's their mission. That's their right. And we are supposed to serve them. Because we was cursed black, to distinguish us clearly with nappy hair, to make sure we was definitely marked, so everybody would know us. And so to be slaves for them forever, forever. Not for a while, forever. If you understand that, you're starting to see how his visions come together. So let's take a look at this for a second. See that line right there? That line could destroy her in an instant. I mean, even when you think about it, before I could say boom, she'd be lying shit. Just that quick. Why doesn't it do it? It doesn't want to do it. Because why? It doesn't have the vision to do it. Because they took the vision away from it. It has the power. It just doesn't have the vision. They gave a different vision. They gave a vision to do whatever master tells them to do. See? And as long as he has that vision, they got him. Because he could totally, look, he got his teeth and everything. He got his claws. He's way more powerful than her. I mean, he could be on her in a second, gone, before anybody could even get anywhere near. She'd be totally gone. He could just bite her head off, totally gone. But he don't do it. Because they took his vision away from him of being a lion and gave him the vision of being what he is, doing what master tells him to do. So he has the power to break that, but he won't break it because the vision's been taken away from him. You have to have the vision. When people take your vision away from you, they disarm you. They disarmed him, even though he's more powerful. He's 10 times, 100 times more powerful than her. She could not resist. There's nothing that she could do to stop him. Even though she had a gun on her, there's nothing that she could do to stop him from eating her alive. Instantly. And see, she would never let him see another a wild lion, a free lion. She would never let him see that. Because once he see that, his vision will come back. And instantly, she'll be turned to lionship. Instantly. Pay attention to that. Because that's what's been happened. That's what they've done to us. That's exactly what they've done to us. Exactly. Exactly what they've done to us. There's no way they could stop us if we get our vision. And they will not allow anyone to come along. Remember, that's what they said, FBI. They didn't want any Messiah to come along, right, and unite you. If that happens, because if that lion saw another lion, she'd have to kill him immediately. They have to kill him immediately before he could register what he saw. As soon as that lion showed any of his natural nature, they have to kill him immediately. Immediately. Otherwise, he's going to devour him. Immediately. Any sign, she watched very closely. They watched very closely. And he can't, like I say, he cannot see a little lion, not a free one, not a wild one. Because instantly, he would recognize that he had the wrong vision. He would see the true vision. You have to understand that, brothers and sisters. We're going to go further into this. I just want to mention here, the angel is the last scripture for this 50,000 year period. It brings to ends full circle. That's what the purpose of it. That's why it's 22 chapters divided by 7 seal, which is circle pi completion. This is the book, not the Quran, the book that seals it all, wraps it up, completes the cycle, brings us out back into where we're supposed to be. So let me go back to what I was talking about. That's the vision they was operating on. That's the vision they got from the sealed Bible that Jesus gave them. Because it tells you that Adam was made. He only has, right, short period of time that was made. The one, if you read carefully, the one in the Old Testament, right? He only came on scene 500 years ago. Go down the line, just read. And the first day, the second day, third day, he wasn't man until the sixth day. That means 500 years ago. He's the descendant of the original Adam. But the Adam they're talking about there is the last generation of Adam. And in the Quran, same way, it's the last generation of Adam. The first one was 6,000 years ago. This is the last generation, the final generation. See? So they had a racist vision because they were saying that's why they did everything. So they tell you not racist. It is systemic racism. That's what understand what they're talking about. They're denying it now. They got reason for doing it because that's exactly what it is. They didn't take each other's land. They took everyone else's land because they said they were the spiritual Israel and it all belonged to them. They was inherit the kingdom. And they went out and took everything from everybody. And they took us and put us into bondage because we're Ham. And the Bible says we're cursed black and doomed to be slaves to them forever. Slaves to them forever. See? Because Adam, in their point of view, the original was white. And so how did we get black? We got cursed black and got nappy hair because that distinguished us so that we can be enslaved forever. So we couldn't escape. That's the vision. And the process, remember they had a contender for that vision. That was the people that claimed to be Jews. So it came to a head back in the 30s, about 90 years ago, right? That eradicate that competition. So only be one claimant for that inheritance, for that contract, for that covenant. Just one claimant, one person, one people that can claim, that'd be them. Because the other one was eradicated, so it couldn't be them. See? Because they kept getting the threat from the other one. Because the other ones kept, every time, they kept putting them down, but they kept prospering and get stronger and stronger. They put them down, prosper, get stronger and stronger, put them down. They said, and they was taking over, they was taking over their governments and their financial institutions and things. They saw them as a threat. They said, well, let's get rid of them. Because every time they backed off, those people they called the Jews was getting more powerful economically, socially, particularly economically. See, and they was all pushing this capitalist system. And the people that called Jews was getting control of that system. That means they would have control of them. And so they said, let's put an end to them. So they finally decided to put an end to them. And that's the whole thing about Germany and concentration camps and burning everything else. Everybody was down with it. All the European countries was down with it. Nobody tried to stop it. So they was going to put an end to that. But then you had this little man, Elijah Muhammad, who had been raised by Master Muhammad, who came back in the early 20s, a few years before that, and was saying they gave him another, claimant. Us. And we had the facts and history to back it up. See, we could back up our claim. See, because we had the 40 years, all the facts You understand? As support or to support our claim that we was a true seed. And that was catching on. Remember the story about the lion? I showed you about the lion, right? His vision's taken away. But if they see that he's reverting, get in touch with his nature, they have to put him down immediately. So when they saw Elijah Muhammad saying this, see, they saw the lion, right? Uh-oh. It wasn't that much though, just an inkling. Wasn't enough to put him down yet. See, there's something else we can do first. What? Then they took and says, okay, the people that they was burning up, trying to eradicate, because they were trying to eradicate them. They were intending to eradicate them. Don't say it wasn't, because the ones that escaped Germany and came here on boats, they sent them back. They knew to send them back to their destruction. They had preachers here and everything was advocating, right? Destroy them. They call them Christ killers and everything else. They wanted them destroyed. But as soon as they saw that Elijah Muhammad was saying that we're true to Abraham, we had everything to back it up, they switched on a dime. They turned on a dime. Suddenly, the people they was destroying and killing and they pretend to eradicate, suddenly their ass became honey pots and everybody was eating honey. That's overnight. See? Because they were denying before that, Christianity was denying that they had any rights to the inheritance, that it was totally taken away from them. The covenant was moving. That was the Christian idea. And all the Christians was on board with that. There was no Christian that wasn't on board with that. The so-called Jews was defunct. There was no more. Jesus had abandoned them, cursed them. They was through. And all of a sudden, they switched on a dime. Why? Because the way Elijah Muhammad was saying, there was another claimant, and we had a valid claim. We had a valid claim where their claim was suspicious. Our claim was valid. We have 400 years of proof, 465 years of proof, 64 years of proof to back it up. We have presence because it was right here. Now something happened years and millions of years ago. It's happening right now. We're experiencing it. We have solid claim, and they had to stop that claim. So all of a sudden, they became the true seed of Abraham again. See? Now all Christians was aboard with that, because you still got a division in the Christian community about that. Still got to, because some Christians, like these people on True News, they say they're on board with that, because they say no, we the spirit, because they still say the same thing. They was denied it, right? And they say agonize the Jews because they were, because these not people are not really, as the angel tells you, right? They're not really Jews. There are people that claim to be Jews but are not. See, they're not even Jews. Anyway, they're making that claim. It's a false claim, but they're making it. See, so all of a sudden, so you got to split the Christian community. See, because they're operating on that vision, because based on their vision, right, they're cool. They haven't done anything wrong. Enslaving us, that's what they're supposed to do, because God made us slaves. And God made us slaves for them. See? And God gave it to them as slaves, like you give somebody a horse or something. And they ain't doing anything wrong with these lands because God gave these lands to them. And the people, they should have got out the way. They was getting in God's way, right? Because land belongs to them. So they perfect, holy people. Nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with them at all. Because that's the vision they had. So they sleep well at night because they was fulfilling God's vision. They was keeping us down, right? They was destroying people that claimed to be Israel because they was Christ killers. They was supposed to be destroyed and taking everybody's land. The land belongs to them. It belonged to the Christians, right? The European Christians, because now they're the ones that inherit the kingdom because they're the spiritual seed of Abraham. That's the story. So now all of a sudden, because Elijah Muhammad identified us as true seed of Abraham, and we had presence, we had history, we had the facts and scripture backing us up. We had a solid claim gold and platinum claim that could not be denied. But we didn't know it. We didn't know it. We that lion, right, that didn't know it. We didn't have our vision. And before we could get that vision, they set a counter vision. See, a counterfeit vision. All of a sudden, the people that call themselves Jews, all of a sudden, they was true to Abraham. And so they established false Israel, 1948, as a beacon to the world. That, see, because the whole idea they're supposed to return. When they return, they'll be there forever. They'll take over all the land, and so forth and so on. That was the whole story. Forget about the 400-year part. See, they kind of left that part out because they had to be 400 years. Then after 40 years, that would happen. But they left that aside. See, and then they demanded that all the preachers teach that. All the preachers teach that because before that, when we was around there in the fields, we just sang the song. Go down Moses, go down to freedom, go down to Egypt land and let our people go. They didn't care at that time, you see. But they're in cages, totally restrained. They didn't care. See? And most of them didn't understand what that meant anyway. You weren't allowed to read, communicate anything. But now they set that counter vision, and they demand all the preachers, because all the preachers are their children. The preachers were their children through rape. Their tar baby children, their black-faced children, the house of Negro, so to speak, there was the preachers because they had a heart like Matt. They lived in the house. They were allowed to live in the house because they thought they was the master, just black skin. See? But they was master's children, they thought like the master, right? They might look like us, walk us, talk, but they thought their heart was with their master. And the preachers, and so they was told not to teach that stuff. See, the men don't teach that false Israel is the true Israel. And that's what they've been teaching. The only one that bucked that after he talked to Elijah Muhammad was Martin Luther King, and he was dead the next day. He said, do not preach promised land. They told him, don't do it. So they want to snuff that out. Remember, you keep that line, you make sure, if it's sign any sign, make sure, you snatch it. If you can't, you got to kill him immediately. Because if you see him reverting, you got to kill him immediately. Unless somehow you can stop that, right in his tracks. Because once he can touch his nature, you're dead. So they set that up. And they meant because all the preachers teach that false Israel is a true Israel. All of them. All these churches teach that. Why? When the evidence is so clear. That's what they told to teach. And so that's the vision. And then they posed that vision on the entire world. They got the UN, all the nations, to support that idea because they had to vote to give false Israel that land over there. It was a UN mandate. They gave them those Palestinian land. They took it. And so now that they're choosing Abraham again, then they can do the same thing that the Christians did. They can take other people's land because it belongs to them, right? They can oppress other people because they're in the way. Because all of a sudden, right, you had the idea of terrorism. Wasn't no idea of terrorism before that. Because anybody that opposed Israel are terrorists. Anybody that opposed false Israel are terrorists. So they imposed a new vision on the world. See? So now you got new vision. You got terrorism. That's all the Muslims, because they stand in the way of God's people. You got new racism because they're the chosen people, so they can do no wrong. If you oppose them, you must be a devil. You must be wicked. You're anti-Semitic. Means you're against God. Even though the Arabs are technically Semites too. In fact, they're more Semites than they are. In fact, they are Semites, because the false Jews are not Semites at all. They're Ashkenazi Jews. Anyway, so they imposed. The world was operating under the other vision prior. Operating other vision prior to 1948. That's the vision that The Europeans was the spiritual seed of Abraham, and they was going to inherit the earth. Earth belongs to them. That was up. But then when they had to change courses because of Master Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad had switched courses, and so now they had to change their vision, and now they have a world because the vision before that, right, was they were the true seed of Abraham, the spiritual seed. But now they had to switch it up because they had another contender, and that was us. So they had to have somebody to fill that position to take the right to take the focus off of us. So nobody look at us. Because if we're true to Abraham, then who are they? See? So they set up that false Israel over there. See? And the world's been operating on that vision for the last 72 years. That's why you have the Arabs, Islam is also a terrorist. They didn't call them terrorists before. See? That's why that was going over here with us. That's the vision operating on. See? But under that vision, remember you got split in America, so you still got the underwriting vision that they are spiritual seed Abraham. So in other words, so they still justified in taking this land, putting us in bondage, slavery, oppressing us, right? Only thing is, right, is they accepting that we call this Judo-Christianity, Christian bondage, whatever. So only thing is now the so-called Jews, false Israel, well they've been reinstated. And the proof that they've been reinstated by Jesus, right, as inheritors, as the co-inheritors, right? Because the proof is they came back. That's what the prophet says. They would all come back. See, God's bringing them all back. See, that's a false proof because when they come back, there'd be no walls, there'd be a peace, right? And so forth, so on. That's not happening over there at all. Nothing like that. And they're supposed to inherit all the lands. That's why they're taking the lands over there. They're taking all land they can get. And their idea is, their vision is to take Iraq, all of that land. They say it belongs to them. The only thing that's stopping them is Iran. So I hope if you put all this together, you start understanding what's going on. Because all these things are connected. All these things are connected. So that's what Gog and Magog, they came out, bust out of the bottomless pit in chapter 20 and covered the whole world, deceived the whole world with that false vision. And they tried to get rid of their competitor, which was the people that call themselves Jews. They tried to get rid of them. But then Elijah Muhammad came on the scene and declared us, so we had another competitor, was we had a valid, solid, certified, notarized claim. So they had to establish somebody, right? Because the other choice was just get rid of us. Because we was countering their claim, and we had a better claim than them. So instead of doing that, they set them over there. So now both of them, they claim, and we still remain nothing. Ham. And so they have all the demons telling you, including the chief demon, Farrakhan, we ain't going anywhere. So it means false Israel is the true Israel. See? They have to be careful how Legion or Louis Eugene Grounds, but anyway, backwards, how he presents it, because he's dealing with people that, kind of like waking up. So you got to care about how he presents it. So he just goes to the bottom line. He claims that we may be deceived, but we ain't going anywhere, which means we're not, because that's the bottom line. The whole bottom line is who is going to inherit the earth, and you start from the promised land. He said we're not even going to do that. See, we said, well, we're going to take over America one day or something like that, right? But it starts with the return to our vision and to return to our land, the best part of the planet Earth. Why we want to inherit the worst part of the planet Earth? It tells you that in the lesson. So that's what his prop job is. He's got to be very careful. He got very tight rope to walk. So I'm trying to bring up the speed here. So let's try to recap this. You got three competitors for who's going to inherit the earth. You got false Israel, who's laying the claim. You got the Europeans, Christians, who saying they're spiritual Israel. They have the claim. And you have us who have the real claim, valid claim, certified notarized claim. You have the three. But in our case, we don't know. We don't know we have the claim. We're that lion that doesn't have his vision. See? But he's still a lion. He has the power. He just don't have the vision. And that's our state. We have the power now. We're not suffering danger. Our days of energy deprivation are over. Now we have the energy that we take to return to our nature. See? Return home. That lion, he doesn't want to live. He wants to go back to the jungle. He don't want to live in no cage. See? But Farrakhan tells you, no, we're going to stay here in the cage. Because we're still on the plantation. That's what he's telling you. So we're going to stay here on the cage with Massa. Massa's still going to be the boss. If you get 6 states, who you think going to be the boss of America, North America? You think you're going to take over, you're going to be the boss? You're still going to be under their thumb. You're still on the plantation. So we the lion don't know. Okay. And that's where the problem lies. Because they can't let you know. Because if you know, right, that lion figures out, boom, they're dead. So they have to watch for you carefully, because any sign that you're going to recognize your situation, return back to your nature, reestablish your vision, they have to destroy you immediately, if not sooner. Now, if you understand everything I've told you, you should be able to put everything in context here. You should be able to put everything in perspective here, in the focus. Understand exactly what's happening. So enter into the situation, right? Master Farad Muhammad. Because I said it would be a time of unprecedented trouble. That's what Michael shall arise to stand up. We stand for his people. We his people. He's the ones got the will that they're so upset about. He starts the ball rolling. Because understand the situation now. If you go back and read, it says that was their fear, that we were mightier than them, and that we may go against them. And if war breaks out, we'll help fight, we'll help their enemies, right? And then flee from the land. And so they try to board us, and then throw us in the river and all these type of things. But I don't understand all of that. What's that talking about? What's all that's talking about? So what happens is that Master Muhammad starts the ball rolling by doing something that cannot possibly be done. According to them, it cannot possibly be done. Because that's remember, that is the foundation, this reality we're operating on right now. America is pushing that vision. That's how false Israel got established over there. That's why all the focus on the Middle East. America spent trillions of dollars to keep that flag waving over there. Right? Because that is the vision they established all over the world. So everywhere supporting false Israel because, right, that's the vision America's posing on the world. America's posing that. That's the story you find in the 666. The three, you got America's one of them. You got three beasts there. America's one of them. You got God can make God. America's one, Britain's one, false Israel's other one. And there was one, the first one, right? He was sanctioned and punishing and killing anybody who didn't, right, recognize false Israel's right to exist. Their right to exist means their true seed, right? Because if they're not who they are, they shouldn't have the right to exist there. The only right to exist there is because they claim that they the seed of Abraham, the true one. That's what it means. See, they talk around circles to you because they know you're not paying attention. That's what they're saying. Why did they have the right to exist? Because of that covenant that they claim to. Otherwise, they have no right to exist there. That's the only reason. That's what they're trying to tell you. They have a right to exist. Why? Why there? That's what they're telling you, but you don't pay attention. You don't read between the lines. See? So anybody oppose, right? Their right to exist, so far as Israel, right? Anybody oppose that, right, is going against God's will. Anti-Semites, wherever, they be destroyed, sanctioned, killed. That's what it says that first beast will do. Anybody that opposes that. So that's the vision they're establishing. That's the vision they've established for the whole world. Anybody that goes against that vision, they're in trouble. Sanctioned. The Shia, that's the deal with Iran. They trying to destroy. They pledge to destroy Israel, false Israel. See, you understand? That's the vision the world's operating on. That's the reason why they went into Iraq. That's the reason why they went to Libya. That's the reason why they're destabilizing Syria and so forth. That's why they're attacking, because that vision that America's established, right, to counter the fact that we're the true seed of Abraham. Everybody's focused there. So that means we're still slaves over here, and that's okay. We still been oppressed. That's okay, because we deserve to be. That's what the Bible says. And if they're being nice to us, right, then that's good, because that shows how good they are, how good people they are. Because we should be slaves, but they're being nice to their slave. They're being nice to their slave. See, they freed their slave. They educated their slave. See, they made slaves citizens. So we should worship them for that. We should be glad. We should be happy. And that's what the preachers are teaching. So when that sister stood up and says, I'm not worshiping that flag, I'm not saluting that flag, I'm turning back on it, all hell broke loose. Because you can't do that. We look at all the things we've done for you. And all the preachers are backing them. And they come on TV, all these demons, yo, man, she's wrong, man. And have you read the lyrics? There's no way that any reasonable, intelligent person would ever black person would ever respect that flag or wave it or go and have anything to do with it and the anthem, right? There's no way. If they real, the only way they would, they had to be a demon or idiot, a total sellout. So when people go against her, you know that's probably total. They probably most likely, right? I say, I don't want to say 100%, but more than likely they're demons. So you can just go with that. I mean, that's a safe bet, because 99% of them, most of the demons, they go because they don't have any problem with that, because that was their daddies that was doing that. So you see the stage here. So when Master Prophet Muhammad goes into, that's the first thing he does, right? He brings down. That's why it says a war broke out in heaven. He brings down false Israel. That can't happen. It's an abomination. That cannot happen. That's impossible, because the whole world is operating on that vision. That America's supporting it 500%. Europeans are supporting it. The whole world is behind it, because that's the vision America exposed on the whole world. But then that vision come crashing down. That's why Master Muhammad's taking, he's going at the root, destroy that vision. Destroy it, bam, instantly. Virtually overnight. When that happens, that sends shock waves around the world. Because the whole world is like you take and you got something supported, right? You got something of support. You got some, say you got a table and it's supporting something, and then you snatch the table out of it, then it come crashing down. Because that is what's supporting this whole vision, this whole world we're living in right now, the reality. Because your reality is your religion. That's supporting that. Everybody's thinking that's it. So therefore, blacks are thinking that's it, because that's why they're acting like they're acting. Because they're thinking They don't see themselves as true seed Abraham. They see them. They say, "What's the proof, man?" And their churches, all the demons are pushing it because that's their job. They keep you pushing it. And Farrakhan's pushed too. But he says, "No, you ain't going anywhere." So that means we're not true seed Abraham. That's what he's telling you, but you don't miss it. Or he said we're true. Yeah, but how you? Well, then how come you don't get the last part? How come you don't get the reward for what you're doing if we're true? But we're sinful. Anyway, I'm not going to deal with that. You understand? I'm trying to make you understand this. I keep talking about this the last few days because why? Because this is about to happen. That's what set the ball in motion. Because it says that when you see it happen, and another reason I'm saying it, because you better know what this is. Because if you don't know what this is, you're in trouble. Because it says when you see it happen, you have to act immediately, not a second later. You can't Google it. You can't go in and ask anybody. You can't go and research. You have to act immediately. 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 You have to act immediately. You have to escape immediately because they come to kill you. You said you can't wait. You have to act immediately. It says don't go get your clothes. Don't do anything. Don't get your baby. Don't do anything. You got to leave your baby in the crib. You can't do that. You can't do anything. You have to run immediately. Why? Why? Because when that goes down, then what's the reality? When that reality is crashed, is gone, when that movie's over, right? What is the what's left? What's the encore? When that vision crashes overnight, the whole vision that the whole world is operating on, that they're not true seed Abraham, that was a lie, and they're gone, totally gone. What happens? The lion wakes up. Now he's got that vision because he said, it must be us because we got to see, because he was asleep. He didn't know. He operating on that vision right there, massive vision. That vision's gone. Like somebody hit him on the head. That vision's gone. He realized he's a lion, brought back to his nature, right? And everybody's been boxing him up, locking him up, or humiliating him. They're toast. Immediately, because he can't, that vision is gone. Right? So he's got to reboot. Instantly reboot. And he reboots what? He's the true seed Abraham. And remember, they can't let that happen. They got to destroy him immediately because he got enough power to destroy them once he reboots. Once he reboots, he got enough power to destroy them. The original nation here in America has the power to bring this down immediately. That's why he said you cannot unite. They cannot allow it to happen. Can't let any signs of it. Any implication, any indication that might happen, they have to snatch it, just like they killed Martin Luther King, and it's snapping, nipping in the bud. Bam. And that's what happened. Because once that go down, that's what happens. You have to reboot because you don't have that vision anymore, and you have to reboot, and then all the demons become exposed. Because remember, the whole idea about the demons is that once we was taken off, remember, they was supposed to, they was in mass house. They were serving master. They looked like you, walk you, talk, but they were serving master because that master was their heart. Master was their mind. See? But after they took you off the fields, they need you anymore, right? Well, the demons said, what about us? What about us, Daddy? You know, we your children. What about us? Because you ain't going to let us live off of you. So what we going to do? What we going to do? Okay, well, you can live off of them. You can't live off of us. You can live off of them. And that's what they did. They started living off of us. The preachers, the politicians, entertainers, they live off of us. It says half of the black people in America are demons. They live off of us. But they preaching masses message. The house Negroes, they preaching masses message. That's the message they preaching. See? The politicians, Democrats, right? The entertainers. The fact they salute this flag and they honoring honoring that anthem. When you read the anthem, how can they possibly talk about that they call us They say we're profane and what's up with all the words they use there, right? Right? And our blood, I mean, there's no escape for us, either here on the plantation or after we die, because Master Jesus is gonna get us when we die. So why would they do that? Because they Master's children, and they was told to live off us. So they say they can live off us because they can't live off of them. Nobody's gonna vote for them, right? They don't go to their stores. They ain't gonna go and use them as lawyers. They have to live off us. And that's what they've been doing. Man, Farrakhan is one of the main ones. He's a chief demon, Legion. Louis Eugene grounds the NOI backwards. See? So when that happens, two things happen. Because now you got to reboot. And your process of rebooting, see, it takes a few seconds to reboot, right? In your process of rebooting, they see you rebooting, and before you can finish rebooting, they got to get rid of you. Because once you reboot, they're dead. Once you reboot, once you reboot and it's completed, they're dead. So when they see your process of rebooting, because you're thinking they got to kill you immediately. Because once you reboot, you recognize your nature, and then they got you. And that's happened because now you come to realize that you true seed Abraham, that God's with you. That's a powerful message. That means you become a nation again because we have a common vision again. See, they got vision scattered, so we're not a nation right now. We're all broken all apart and everything. That's what the angel tells. We're all split up because we don't have a common vision. That's what a nation is. People have a common vision. So now all of a sudden you got a common vision and you got power. You got energy. You just don't have, the, now you got the vision. That means you got the will to make that vision come. Because now because the vision, you have to have the will to have the vision. Or you have to have the vision to have the will. See? So now you got the will because you got the vision and the energy. That's the will. You got the vision and the energy. You got both together. See, the vision, right? That gives you the vision. You have to have the vision first. But then you have to have the energy. When you have the vision and energy, that's when you will. Because with energy, without vision is no will. And vision without energy is no will. You have to have both. Once you have both, then you have the will. Now we have the will to take everything back. And they don't want you to have that. Because they got your energy. They use your energy like they want to use it. But once you, right, reboot, they say you reboot and they got to get rid of you immediately. See? But once you reboot, right, you also recognize the demons. See? You recognize who they are now. So you purge them away from you. You get them away from you because now you know who they are once you reboot. Because they're the ones pushing that false vision. They still pushing that false vision, and you already boosting. That's the false vision. So therefore, you recognize them. You recognize the preacher. He got to explain. Because he been telling you that's the true vision. Now all of a sudden he got to explain. See, Farrakhan always got to explain because you recognize who demons are. You see what's happening when he takes them down? That's why you got to flee because they should prosper reboot. Spiritual, right? America, spiritual, so-called spiritual Israel, right? They're the trainers, kept you trained. They know they got to put you down immediately. Because once you marry division and energy together, they're toast. That lion becomes realize that it's a lion and it's got power and you're a big old meal right there. That you really the meal. That's what you really are, just a meal. And that's exactly what you become. You understand, brothers and sisters? That is exactly what the situation is. It's totally logical, totally mathematical, and it's scripturally sound, and exactly what's going on. Because when false is what goes down, that's exactly the process. That's exactly what happens. That's what I call abomination of desolation, because it can't happen, but it does happen, and it's total desolation. And that's what the Master Prophet Muhammad is about to do. It's going to happen anytime now. But the problem is you have to recognize where it is before. It says when you see it, you have to move immediately. That means you can't. So you have to recognize where it is, because if you don't, right, and you have to move immediately, right, and you don't because you don't know where it is, then you destroy it. That's why we got measure of the covenant trying to get information to you, brothers and sisters. See, but Master Prophet Muhammad has provided a brief space, right? Your protection, because you know some of you ain't gonna recognize this. That's the mercy. See, because if that was the case, you'd all be gone. See. Okay, so let's go add a little more to it. You got two events. There's or more, but you got two major events, right? That will happen at the same time, because both of them lead to time pressure trouble. Because both of them tells you to flee when you see this event. When you see the event, both of them tell you to flee immediately to the mountains. So they both the same occur simultaneously. That's the Sodom and Gomorrah. And what was Sodom and Gomorrah? You understand what that's all about. See, you got this world is resting on that false vision, so-called false Israel. See, but you also got, see, okay, structural integrity. The structural integrity of America is gone. All its institutions are failing. Most of them have failed already. Only thing that's keeping it up is support beams. We are the support beams, because the structure of every nation, they tell you that, even they tell you that, sociology and everything else, the fundamental structure of every nation or every people, every country is the family, gender, mother and father, because the purpose of reproduction, because without reproduction we have a nation. That's the purpose. That's the fundamental. And that's been destroyed in America, destroyed. Homosexuals do not produce children. Transgenders do not produce children. And you can be whatever you want. You get a sexual reassignment, and in fact, the military will pay for it if you're in the military. A child can get it without even his mother's permission. See? Then you can't even get the records of the person that you married, because you could be a man marrying a man that's got reassigned. There's no babies there. It could be, it's so weird as a male and a female, a reassigned male and a reassigned female can marry each other. Both of them are reassigned, don't even realize it. Now that tops it all, don't it? So it gives you two things that will happen simultaneously. See? Sodom and Gomorrah, and we see it happen in America, because the only things keeping America together, it tells you, only thing that kept Sodom and Gomorrah, right, from total destruction was the presence of Lot and Abraham. Because their family structure, right, they had the original vision, their family structure was still solid. So they was like support beams holding it up. And if once you pull the support beams out, it comes crashing down. So they have a situation, because they have to destroy us once false Israel's gone. Have to. Can't let us, in process of rebooting, they can't let us reboot. Because then we're one nation and enough power to destroy everything. See? On the other hand, we're the only thing that's keeping them together. So they're conflicted. Remember, Pharaoh was conflicted. Let them go, keep them. Let them go, keep them. But we're going to be taken out, because that's the second thing God does. Right? First, he destroys that vision, right? And then he takes us, snatches us out of here, right? Because this time unprecedented trouble. He's not out of here. And when he does that, right, then this collapses. America collapses. Because the only thing, because that's what says Sodom and Gomorrah. Once they left, said it couldn't happen until they left. Once they left, immediately, bam, it crashed. When did they leave? Once they saw abomination for desolation, right? Remember, flee. See the two together? So that's how I know when to flee. Remember, that's how I knew when to flee. See, but they wasn't there when destruction happened, right? In Sodom and Gomorrah, but they had to know when to flee. So angels told them when to flee. That means they knew the abomination of desolation. So when they saw that, they came together and fled. So that brought America down, crashing. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So that's what you see. Because now the flag in America is LGBT. That's the flag. It's Sodom and Gomorrah now. See? So how do they know when to flee? Because they tell you, when you say abomination of desolation, flee. I'm trying to bring us all together for you, brothers and sisters. See? But some of you are not going to flee because you're not going to recognize it. That's why the four winds have to blow to give you a real short respite, right? That little extra time to get your ass out of here. See? And during that time, that's when we get rid of the demons because we recognize them now. Because that's how we recognize them, because they was pushing that lie on us. They was the ones supporting the lie. They was the one that gave us that vision, that was supporting that vision. You understand, brothers and sisters? There's not nothing spooky anything about this. It's very clear. Because now all of a sudden, the preacher's been telling you, and then he's supposed to know. And all of a sudden, now you realize he was lying to you. That was a false vision. So what you going to do to him? He put your life at risk, your family at risk. What happened to Farrakhan? We ain't going nowhere. Big liar. He's exposed. All the demons exposed once that comes down. So now they separate it out. Am I making it clear enough for you, brothers and sisters? Everything becomes totally clear then. Your vision becomes crystal clear. You're one nation with power to make your vision a reality. And your God is there to protect you. That's why he's there to protect you for that brief period. Because if it wasn't for him, you would be destroyed. Because you need that brief period that says you need that brief period to get together while you're rebooting. Protect you while you're rebooting. Because soon that happen, you're going to be in reboot mode. And so he's protect you while you're in that mode. Otherwise, they will take you out when they see you rebooting. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. A couple of things, and then we're going to close out. And that should be enough right there for the day, but let's see what else we have here. Okay, well, we talked about this, the demons here, right? See that little wolf there? Sheep clothing, hardly see them. See? So, talks about the thieves, the demons who are betraying you. He says, all before me were liars and thieves. Jesus said that. He's coming to all the prophets. Could be talking about them. He could be all the prophets, Jeremiah and they not putting liars and thieves. He's talking about the one that preceded him. Who's Jesus? Joshua. Who preceded Joshua? Aaron. Who's Aaron? Aaron was Elijah's spokesman who run people around the wilderness for 40 some years. That's Farrakhan, clear and simple. That's very simple. I'm not going to dwell on that one. Quran and angel. Remember I said the angel that brings everything to a full circle. We have 50,000 years, brings to a close. Full circle. Not the last revelation. It's the last revelation that covers the 50,000 year period. From the beginning of energy deprivation to the end of it. Bring to a close. See? From everything taken from us to everything recovered. Complete circle. From the point everything was they started taking everything from us 50,000 years ago. First took our land, right? Took our minds, our bodies, our culture, everything. And now, full circle, now we take our mind back first, then take our land, full circle. That's what I remember. That's why it's 22 divided by 7, that's circle completion. And the Quran, it has its value. You understand these scripts have a value. You have to put them in proper perspective like tools. You can't use a hammer for everything. Kill a vision. That's his job. That's his job. Kill a vision. Mr. Killer Vision. See? But we got beacons, right? To light up the way, because it's about to get really dark here for them and our people until they've established their vision. So that's why we have the measure of the covenant to establish that vision for our people. Turn that light back on for them. They can find their way to it. Everybody else in darkness. There it is. The Sunnis, they're part of it. Because what's our vision? They're in the way of that vision because they're saying that land is theirs. The golden calf. They say that land is theirs. And the vision is we take our land back. So they're going to do everything they can to still to destroy that vision. That's what they're doing. They're trying to convert you to Sunnism. That's where they got Farrakhan trying to get you to Sunnism, which you have no vision. You have no vision once you get into Sunnism. You're not Abraham's seed. You're not any of that. See, coming to my web says aspire to the fly. Then you got the dream merchants. Anything, any vision, but the Abraham covenant. Scientology, what do you call it? Christian theology, Christian prosperity, right? Capitalism, democracy, heaven after you die. Any vision except the Abrahamic covenant, true vision. Dream merchants. Every Sunday, got vision for you. Just let us know. But we light this place up. It's our job. Light it up. See? Upload that vision, the true vision. Abrahamic covenant. We had putting bread, raising up measures of covenant all over the country. Once that vision is reestablished, you reboot. It's all over. And that's what matters for Muhammad is to make sure you have that time to reboot, to give you that space to reboot. Because when they see you rebooting, they're going to kill you. And he's sending the 4 winds, right, to give you space to reboot. Because once you reboot, and your vision is established, they cannot do anything to you because you're too powerful. Too powerful. You're one nation again. Most powerful nation on the planet. Just blind right now. And that's it. That's where it is. You're getting ready to go to war. The Shia are his angels. To take down false Israel. Destroy this vision of this world. The vision that you've been operating under. That lie. Once he does, the world be cast into darkness. Forcing you to reboot. And when you reboot, you come back to your real, rich, original self. Because they had a virus in there. Once you reboot, the virus is gone. And you come back to your normal operating mode. Proper software. They don't want that. But it takes time to reboot. And during the time where they see you rebooting, that's when they're going to attack you. And that's why Master Prophet Muhammad sent the 4 winds to give you space to finish rebooting. Because once you reboot, once that lion reboots, these lions, he's looking around. What's going on? See, he knows he's not supposed to be on this pedestal doing these tricks anymore. But you see a real lion over there, right? That's wild and everything. And so it takes him a minute or two to put it together. But once he puts it together, the trainer better be long gone. Or else we turn to lion shit. And that's that little brief space right there is when they're going to kill you. He said, get him. Because once he figures it out, take maybe a few seconds, gotta get you. See, that's what Master Farad Muhammad's job is, right? To block them from doing it. That's the 4 winds until you finish rebooting. See, and it's Suleiman's job, right, to give you the software to reboot with. You can't just reboot. You have that software to reboot with. That's the angel. As he's been working tirelessly for over 30 years to get that, make sure that software is ready to go when it's time, when time comes. That's why putting these beacons all over, right? So you have a station, right, to get that software to reboot it. So we got dedicated brothers and sisters, dedicated to make sure you have software available to reboot when time comes, and time is now. Again, that's the key. Abomination of desolation. Once Master Muhammad tears that down, knocks that down, that's going to destroy, that's going to disrupt the world, change it. That's where time of unprecedented trouble. Nothing like it. Shock waves, the shock of the hour. Because all of a sudden your whole reality just come crashing down. And then you got to figure out, what do I do next? You know, because they got everybody believing that reality, that that's the truth. All of a sudden it's gone. That's not supposed to happen. Not supposed to happen. Christians tell you that can't happen because once God, they established them there, right? He brought them back. They cannot be removed. God said that's God's word, and God keep His word, and that's what they're saying. When that happens, that's gonna blow people's mind. I mean, people gonna be. They said people walk around drunk without having a drink. They're gonna be staggering. It can be mad because that can't happen. That's an abomination. It can't happen. And with desolation, I mean, it's totally destroyed. That's about to happen in a couple of days. Your reality is about to come crashing down. Or force you to reboot. And you reboot, you're gonna become. That's it. When that fourth winds blow, it says you became a powerful nation, a powerful army, a powerful army. You united, all came together, a powerful army with spirit. I'm putting all this together for you, brother. I told you as we close, I'm putting all together, bring all the focus so it'll be clear. Yeah, piece here, but I'm putting it all together, make all the pieces fit. See? So you make sense of it. So you mess with the covenant out there and you injure warriors, you be invincible. Don't be upset by resistance because you're going to be resistant from our people because growth causes resistance. See? But their resistance means they're paying attention. So only two things are going to happen. If they're demons, they're going to be crushed by your growth. If they are, you see Abraham, right? Like when the sun hits you, either burns you up or causes you to rotate. So they're going to start, right, rebooting. They're going to start moving in the, rotating. See? That's what we want. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Okay, brothers and sisters, that's it. I think we're going to keep on this subject for a little while because this is about to happen. I need everybody to understand it. If you have any questions, contact us. Assalamu alaikum.